right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Polestar Pilates Hour. Great to have everybody joining us. And as we're just getting ready to get started, I have a dear friend, a mentor, my first Pilates teacher ever, partner for many years in bringing Pilates to the world, Miss Elizabeth Larkam. So good to have you, Elizabeth, always. And our audience, I hope they all realize that if they have Polestar in their blood, they have Elizabeth Larkam in their blood. So it's good to have you with us. Elizabeth, tell us what's going on in your world. Publications, got your books going. How many books are you up to now?
Yes, the second one, co-edited with Madeline Black, Pilates Applications for Health Conditions. This is like the experience in the infinity swim pool. You just keep swimming and swimming and swimming, and you just wonder, when do you reach the bank?
Yes.
The latest from our publisher, Handspring Publishing, is that they are so surprised at the size of the book, they are considering how best to roll it out in early 2025. So
they might have to.
I'm very eager.
They might have to categorize it by like these types of pathologies and, areas of science. The other, I don't know, because you did have a lot in there, and it's going to be a fantastic book and great authors that have contributed to it. So congratulations. And it will come to fruition. It's just you've been through it before, and now I've gone through it, so I can have the empathy of all the pains that go with working with publishers and all the things that you never saw before we signed the agreement. But it'll be out there.
It's such a valuable experience, Brent, I think, to publish in the field of Pilates, because Pilates has always been an oral tradition, a somatic tradition, passed down from one teacher to the next in person. Yeah. And it gives a different perspective to put that experience, make it relevant in two dimensions on a page between covers.
Yeah, you and I were talking about that right before we went live, and just thinking of, there's so many different stories from so many different angles of how Pilates got to be where it is today. It's like I was just talking with somebody the other day, and they were complaining about, somebody in the Pilates world because they felt like they were decreasing the quality by having so much exposure. And I said, I think back in the day when we introduced the Allegros in Las Vegas, and we had people criticizing the idea of having more than 4 reformers for a class. So that was a big eye opener. I think of Mari Windsor, where people were, how can you do a video of Pilates? It's impossible. But she exposed us to millions of people, probably one of the biggest exposures, and on and on. So I always say, any marketing is good marketing, even if it's not the best quality. It still brings awareness to the world. So lately you have been doing, and you always have, from the beginning of the fascial work really taking hold, and some of the leading scientists and movers, and the work going on in Europe that's so powerful, in Italy and in Germany and Europe and UK. You've been right there in the middle of it from the beginning, and sort of interested in just a brief synopsis of sort of what you see happening now. Like, is there anybody in particular that you're following that is exciting you in particular? Make it personal. Like, what is Elizabeth Larkam looking at these days?
Yes. I'm interested in how to bring the research from neurology and from psychology and psychoneurology, how to bring that information into the movement sphere. And so I listen to a lot of experts and attend conferences of experts in the field of trauma and in the field of neurology, seeing how I can bring that information into my daily classes and client sessions.
I mean, I agree with you 100%. And, having been involved with chronic pain for so long, and then realizing that, we keep treating it as if it's only a physiological or a structural thing, because it is physiological. The psychology and the neurology and even the developmental. You think of developmental science of how trauma is part of developmental behavior. It's how it triggers things, how our brain works and the circuits that we create and how we can change those with movement. I mean, that was, part of our research years ago was it wasn't about strong muscles or range of motion or those kind of things. It was about people having hope after they had successful movement experiences without pain with us. And that was a big trigger of thinking like, it's not only in, the muscle or the bone or the joint or the ligaments, that we have to be able to think of the whole person. Today, you've got some things prepared for us and looking forward to it. I don't want to take any more time away from it. And I'm going to turn the time over to you, Elizabeth. I'm excited. I've looked through some of your materials and I know everybody's going to have a wonderful experience today.
Thank you, Brent. Here we go. Proprioception and interoception in Pilates. We have a medical disclaimer. The content of this continuing education presentation is intended to inform, not prescribe, and is not meant to be a substitute for the advice and care of a qualified healthcare professional. Before embarking on any health-related regimen, seek the care and advice of a qualified health professional. Seeing's believing, but feeling's the truth. In this time together, I will offer opportunities for both feeling and seeing in order to evolve understanding. My book, Fascia in Motion, is what launched me into this field of inquiry. And you can see on your screen a discount code for ordering that book. The book has been translated into 3 languages, and I am beyond thrilled to announce, maybe announcing here for the first time ever, that the Larkam movement systems will be launched in China in April 2025, hosted by the Body Concept Movement Academy in Shanghai. That will be a hybrid model with in-person and online education that includes the book as a text, but then goes far beyond the book into integrating not only the physical aspects of work beyond Joseph Pilates, but also how movement practices can be beneficial for the emotional self, the cognitive self, and the field self and collective. The Pilates Applications for Health Conditions book that we spoke about earlier, that publication will be early 2025, and here's a discount code for ordering it. I workshop a lot of the material in daily morning classes on the Be Well, Stay Well platform that's founded by and hosted by Ada Wells, who's a Polestar master educator. I think Ada may be here.
I see her name on there, so she is with us today.
Yes.
Thank you, Ada. And
this, some of the material that we practice today for proprioception and interoception is workshopped in the morning classes with Ada. And we're really pleased to announce that there will be Pilates ARC workshops in Sundays in October 6th and 13th. So you see a link there where you can find more information. You can always find me on Pilates anytime. And now we'll prepare to focus and learn. Here's some recommendations of practices you can employ anytime that you are presented with information that you're interested in learning, remembering, and then incorporating into your teaching. We'll have the breath practice of physiological sigh, the breath practice of coherent breathing, which is also named resonant breathing, a hand mudra for full lung breathing, the Panchamukha mudra. Have the plantar surfaces of your feet supported on a surface that's pleasing to you, and sit on a surface that's pleasing to you, a balanced sit, a physio ball, or a cushion. Certainly you could stand as well. Focus on the presentation screen rather than on your other devices. Adjust the lighting to decrease eye strain. Make it a priority to sleep well this evening. the first night following any sort of presentation or conference or course, so that you can max or optimize the conditions for your brain to surf through the material and make it stick, so to speak. As soon as it is convenient, like as soon as you wake up tomorrow refreshed and invigorated with the experience of yesterday, teach this material to a colleague, a client, or a friend, because you will really own it then, make it your own, and incorporate it into your flow of evolution. The physiological sigh, let's practice that. You can practice the physiological sigh for calm, coherence, and clarity. The reference article for the physiological sigh is the journal Cell of January 2023. And this research study was conducted at the Huberman Lab, among other labs at the Stanford School of Medicine, comparing the efficacy of 5 minutes of different breathing practices. The physiological sigh is a double inhale through the nose. The first inhalation fills your lungs to capacity. The second inhalation is a rapid sniff through the nose as if to further inflate your alveoli. And then you sigh through a relaxed open mouth during your passive exhalation, making the H-A-H sound. We'll do this 3 times together, eyes open and closed. Breathing in lightly through your nose, inflating your lungs. Just when you think you can't fill up any more, a brief sniff. Exhale with a relaxed sigh through an open mouth. Again, just the physiological sigh without my filigree. Breathing in. One more round for a group of 3. Breathing in. The research you can follow in the journal Cell indicates that the physiological sigh was the most effective way to decrease a number of measurable aspects of stress physiology. In Breath by James Nestor, The New Science of a Lost Art, we can find information about coherent or resonant breathing. This is an inhalation and an exhalation lightly through the nose in a range of 5.5 to 6 seconds on the inhalation and 5.5 to 6 seconds on an exhalation. This comes to 5.5 breaths per minute. A University of Padua study in 2001 with 24 subjects indicates that the blood flow to the brain is increased. The body systems enter a state of coherence. The functions of heart, circulation, and nervous system are coordinated to peak efficiency, which can bring about profound results even when practiced for 5 to 10 minutes per day. Let's practice the coherent or resonant breathing, incorporating also the Panchamukha mudra with it. So we'll layer on a few aspects of sensory and motor practices. The Panchamukha mudra balances the brain and improves concentration. To create this mudra, you join together all the tips of the fingers and your thumbs with your hands and fingers spread. This mudra facilitates full lung breathing. Each finger corresponds to an area of the lungs, such that the little finger pressed against each other will encourage an expansion through the lower lobes of the posterior and lateral lungs, and pressing the pads of your index fingers together will encourage a responsiveness and excursion of the upper lobes of the lungs just around the first rib. So I incorporate the Panchamukha mudra with the coherent or resonant breathing and the humming, humming to stimulate the vagus nerve and the ventral vagus nerve and release nitric oxide in the parasinuses. Here's the photo of the book from which I learned about the Panchamukha mudra. And that goes something else. So here we have breathing in, 6 seconds inhalation, following hands going up. Exhale, humming, nodding your nose downward, gaze behind the cheekbones of your face. Breathing in, scrolling your tongue up and back to your soft palate. An inhalation through 6 seconds is paired with torso extension. Exhale, lightly through your nose and humming to stimulate the release of nitric oxide in the parasinuses. Once again, breathing in, tongue scrolling up and back to the soft palate. And exhale, humming, tongue sliding forward along the roof of your mouth to the back of your upper teeth. All of these cues that I just suggested here, they come from different sources of practice, and I just like to layer them in one on top of the other so that the client gets fully appropriately stimulated, able to focus and concentrate early on in the session, and then incorporate their sense of calm and focus to the movements at hand. We'll look at one other sensory and motor practice that's popularized by Dawson Church, a PhD in clinical psychologist. Here's his book cover, Mind to Matter. He has a number of books, including Bliss Brain. But Mind to Matter gives up a lot of the research that underlies the efficacy of emotional freedom technique, or EFT, tapping. And I incorporate this tapping at the early aspects of the classes, of the sessions. Tapping is a light, rhythmic self-touch on 8 areas of the hands, face, and torso that are the endpoints of acupuncture meridians. There have been numerous studies conducted on the efficacy of EFT since 2012 by Dawson Church. The physiological measures of physical and mental health following 1-hour tapping sessions, don't panic, we're actually going to move today, not just tap ourselves crazy, indicated that cortisol decreased by 37% and participants reported pain reduction by 57%. Now, as you might expect, I like to dress this tapping experience up with some fine motor control. So during the EFT tapping, I suggest crossing the midline such that your right hand taps on the acupressure meridians on the left side of yourself, and that the left hand taps on the right side of yourself. And of course, and why not? Since we can, we might as well. We'll incorporate this with the rhythmic inhalation and exhalation of coherent breathing and the humming to stimulate the ventral vagus nerve. So I will just stay here. We'll keep the current slide up. And then when we move to the mat, we'll take the screen share down. Tap on the little finger side of your hand, just below, on the side of your hand, breathing in. And exhale, humming. Tap on the top of your head, where the governing vessel is at the top of your head, breathing in. Lightly through your nose, tongue scrolling, and exhale, humming. Crossing your wrists. Tap where the eyebrow meets the bridge of your nose. And exhale, humming, cross the other wrist on top. Tap on the outer corners of your eyes, breathing in, tongue scrolling up and back to the soft palate. Exhale, change the crossing, humming. Just in case you thought you were going to go to sleep and relax, you have to do ping pong with your wrists. Tap underneath the center of your pupil, the center of your eye orbit. Breathing in on the first tapping, and cross the other hand in front as you exhale. Tap underneath your nose, above your upper lip, breathing in, tongue scrolling. And exhale, tongue sliding forward as you hum and change the other two fingers on top. Tap underneath your lower lip at the indentation of your chin. Exhale, the other two fingers on top, humming. Tap where your collarbone meets your breastbone, just underneath. Breastbone? No, breastbone. Just underneath your collarbone, humming. Crossing your arms, tap underneath your underarms on the sides of your ribs, 4 inches below your underarms, and tap crossing the other wrist on top. Tapping where we started, breathing in, appreciating the state that you're in now, and exhale, humming. All of these layering on of sensory and motor practices are intended to facilitate coherent brain and body states and to enhance focus during movement sessions. We turn now to a book published in 2021, The Extended Mind, The Power of Thinking Outside the Brain by Annie Murphy Paul, and specifically in chapter 6, thinking with the body, how the body makes a contribution to our what is conventionally considered to be a head, brain, and cognitively isolated state. Proprioception is our sense of how and where the body is moving at any given moment. The experience of optical flow is the continuous stream of information our eyes receive as we move about in real-life environments. So when you are involved in a movement session, when your client's involved in a movement session, you are integrating your many different senses, including those of proprioception, your sense of where and how your body is moving, and your experience of your optical flow. When your eyes are open, there's a continuous stream of experience that your eyes receive when you move about in the Pilates environment with all of the richness of the equipment that Joseph Pilates created, and that all of us bring our props and favorite movement environments to that ever-evolving experience. When you use a compact display, a laptop, a iPod, an iPad, a tablet, a phone with a screen, this actually has the effect of draining your mental capacity. Why is that? A small screen requires us to engage in virtual navigation through information. Virtual information, scrolling, zooming, clicking, rather than the more intuitive physical navigation of our bodies. Most of us on this call, and I assure you, I am probably in the senior percentile because I've been at it a long time. Most of us, many of us grew up without, our nervous systems were being trained and educated without screen devices, not so much. But the next generation and many generations of our clients, the children, the teenagers, the millennials, many of them are, their nervous systems only know being shaped by scrolling, zooming, clicking, and virtual navigation, rather than the more intuitive physical navigation of our bodies. Now, screens they are a fact of life and necessary to work well and exist in our world. Large multiple monitor setups can induce participants to orient their body toward information, generating memory-enhancing mental tags. Automatically noting place information is something humans do, enriching memories without depleting mental resources. So this has, I think, profound effects on how we as movement teachers can appreciate the differences in our clients, the way our clients process information, recognizing that for many of them, proprioception may not be their default sense of awareness. Maybe they're used to virtual navigation, and it's incumbent upon us to organize the movement environment, not to teach them more things on their screens, but to organize the movement environment to enhance the sensory awareness and the motor acuity that comes with proprioceptive sense of the body moving in space. We're warming up to our movement practice, appreciating more information on integrating vision with movement. The superficial back myofascial continuity has an arrow pointing to the neighborhood, the region of the suboccipital star. It's in the suboccipital star area, as the movement says, at the base of your cranium, where the cervical and the cranial area meet. The cervical and the eye movements are linked. Makes sense, doesn't it? You hear a noise, you orient to it. Your head, neck, and eyes, they look where the noise is coming from. Movements that cross the midline require an integration of the left and right eyes, the left and right kinesphere. We will practice closing each eye during a movement practice. The muscular control of eye movements is under the influence of 3 pairs of muscles, and you see them here on the screen. The medial and lateral recti, the superior and inferior recti, the superior and inferior obliques. And you could practice and do what the name implies, gliding left and right, sliding up underneath your eyebrows and down behind the cheekbones of your face, organizing up left and down right, up right and down left. I hope that hasn't given you a headache or a vestibular consideration. We'll just move right on. Palm your hands and cover your eyes, relaxing your eyes in the recesses of your eye sockets if that was a little bit too much stimulation. These muscles, of course, they interact with one another and do not function as isolated units. One muscle of the pair relaxes while the other contracts. And there's more information as the text bullets continue regarding muscular control of eye movements, relevant for our proprioceptive sense, our interoceptive sense, and our screen navigations. Soon, you'll be seated on your mat, developing movements of your head, your neck to stimulate cervical proprioception, with 3 eye movement variations in sitting, and maybe in standing, or maybe you can do that just before you go to sleep tonight. Okay. Here you see some equipment uses or equipment applications of what we'll soon be practicing on the mat. This is with the Reformer Tower, seated on 2 rotator discs. You sit on 2 rotator discs so that the pads of your glutes don't keep you stuck on 1 rotator disc. You could add a sling to stimulate proprioception around the thoracolumbar junction, T11, 12, and L1. And you see that there's the movement conversation between the ground forces of the sitting bones on the disc and the hands through the double loops on the Reformer Tower springs. This video goes on for some time, and it shows 3 different movement relationships of the head, neck, and the rest of the torso. You can also practice variations of this proprioceptive and, the way I'll cue it, interoceptive exercise. Sitting on, I think I'm sitting on the back disc, the large rotator disc developed by Jean-Claude West, the biomechanical asymmetrical corrector. And this is seated on the chair top. This is the exo chair with the split pedal, with the soles of the mid feet on the chair pedals. This is steering the pelvis and turning pelvis, ribs, shoulders with the head, neck, and eyes turning in opposite directions to stimulate the optical flow, the proprioception, and to stimulate the vestibular sense as well. Here's a textbook on vestibular function that you can reference. And let's just leave the screen sharing now for the moment and move to your mat. I suggest that you bring your bench, your stool to the mat. Just in case you happen to have it handy, why not use a stretch band also? And I'll move back so there's a full body view. My favorite sitting environment these days, and there are so many, every week practically it's another favorite prop. And my favorite for a while has been the 9-inch rotator disc without resistance, placed on a stable bench or stool. Brent could use his gyrotonic bench or foot bar bench there. And I put on top of the rotator disc the balance sit created by Daniel Vladeta, the inventor of the oeuvre. And this balance sit, I happen to use a medium. And no, I do not have an affiliate link for ordering Daniel's fabulous material. I just am a junkie for props to enhance dynamic sensory and motor stimulation in the Pilates environment. And I'm particularly appreciative these days of the different surfaces and different materials that the props can be made from. I find the oeuvre and the balance sit to be very fascia friendly. It's quite different from different foam roller densities, infinite foam roller densities that are available now. I also will bring to your attention the aligner, the balanced body aligner, which is made of a softer foam. It's a little soft and squishy and fits just, everywhere you need some fascia-friendly proprioception. And no, I don't have an affiliate link there either, but I'm just doing the work for what I enjoy doing, expressing my enthusiasm for movement, being proprioception, interoception. So if you like to use the aligner, you can have it between your upper and thighs, or you can put it between your teeth. No, I'm just teasing. Don't do that. We'll use the band around the bottom of your ribs. So create a compression ring around the bottom of your thorax. Cross the band Secure the band with your thumbs towards the index finger side of your palm. Turn your palms up into supination, perching on your surface. If you're seated on a rotator disc, you can steer with your sitting bones. Otherwise, you'll steer with your sitting bones on your bench, your stool. As you inhale, pull outward on the band. It's a supination and an external rotation of your humerus. Rock to the front of your sitting bones, breathing in, scrolling your tongue up and back to the soft palate. Gaze up underneath your eyebrows. Exhale, humming. Rock to the back of your sitting bones. Nod your nose downward. Gaze behind the cheekbones of your face, palms down. Breathing in, scrolling your tongue up and back opens the airways for an easy flow of inhalation through your nose. Exhale, humming. That vibration in your parasinus stimulates the ventral vagus nerve to tell you that there is less threat in the environment than you may have received before. Now we'll start in with the rotation, steering pelvis, ribs, shoulders, neck, head, and eyes to your left. Turn your left palm up, your right palm down, looking over your left shoulder. And organize back towards through the midline, through the mid-region. Breathing in, rotation to look over your right shoulder. And exhale, center. Do that again. It's an undifferentiated rotation. Pelvis, ribs, shoulders, neck, head, and eyes. Both eyes open. Eyes sliding to the left corners of your eye sockets. Pressing down with your left foot more firmly, steer your right sitting bone behind you and look over your right shoulder, right palm up, left palm down. Keeping your head, neck, and eyes directly forward. Turn pelvis, ribs, shoulders, rotating left. Inhale to rotate right, 6 counts of 6 seconds of inhalation, and exhale, humming. Again, keeping your head, neck, and eyes steady, breathing in. And exhale, humming. Using the ground force of your left foot, your left sitting bone turns in front of you, your right sitting bone turns behind you, and humming. As your pelvis, ribs, shoulders, they turn left, your head, neck, and eyes, they look right. Turning to look over your right shoulder, eyes glide to the right corners of your eye sockets, humming through the middle region, not the middle earth, the middle region. Rotating pelvis, ribs, shoulders right, turning your head, neck, and eyes, they slide left. Breathing in. A differentiated rotation of head, neck, and eyes going opposite the direction. When you're seated, keep your knees aiming directly forward so there's a spin of your femur heads in the acetabulum, as one does on the middle of a Polestar hour. You don't want to be caught with rigid femur heads in your acetabulum.
Heaven forbid.
That's right. Now, let's add some more vision to this. We'll have an undifferentiated rotation, turning to your left palm up, right palm down. Eyes glide to the left corners of your eye sockets. Close your left eye and keep rotating left. Your right eye will look across the midline. Your right eye, looking to the left, will encourage, spontaneously bring about enhanced degrees of freedom, rotating to your left. Make sure that the light from your left knee is directly forward. Opening both eyes, transitioning through the middle. Turning pelvis, ribs, shoulders, neck, head, and eyes to your right. Close your right eye. Your left eye looks across the bridge of your nose to encourage a spiral, a few more degrees of freedom to the right. Close both eyes, breathing in. When your eyes are closed, bring your right lung in front of you to the left. Bring your left lung behind you to the right. So now you have an attention of awareness of the force couple, the movement relationship of your lungs. Coming back through the middle, opening your eyes. As you use the ground force in your left foot, your left sitting bone to spiral everything to the right. Close your eyes. When your eyes are closed, without the optical stream of visual information, your nervous system, your body-brain communication, it changes to bring attention to your entire kinsphere, the space behind you, above you, on either side of you, and the space below you. Come through the middle. Keeping your eyes open, keep your head, neck, and eyes steady, and turn your pelvis, ribs. They turn left, left palm up, right palm down. Organize through the midline. Keep your head, neck, and eyes directly forward as you rotate. Close your eyes now and bring attention to this differentiated rotation, to the movement of your lungs. On the inhalation, there's an excursion, wide to the back of the band, deep to the sides of the band. The compression band, the elastic compression around your rib area, around the lower lobes of your lungs, can enhance your proprioceptive awareness of the subtle yet palpable movement of your excursion of your thorax. Opening your eyes now, change the orientation of the band. The band is down for the moment, and just appreciate that you have room to breathe. The band's not there anymore, but the compression, the elastic compression ring of the band is bringing a sensory stimulation and a greater opportunity for efficient breathing. Now tie yourself up again, but this time bring the band underneath your arms, underneath the axilla, on the sides of your ribs. Let's just say in the area 4 inches below your underarm. That's the area of the acupressure meridian that Dawson Church had us tapping on minutes ago. Now there's a compression band around the mid-thoracic area. And what are we going to do? Turn pelvis, rib, shoulders to the right. Turn head, neck, and eyes to the left. Close your left eye. And sure enough, she said, leading the witness, you can unscrew the base from the lid and the lid from the base, and you have more degrees of freedom for rotation. Come back through the middle, turning your pelvis, rib, shoulders left, your head, neck, and eyes right. Close your right eye. When your right eye is closed, your left eye will look across the midline, and there you are, increasing your rotation on whatever bench you're sitting on. Again, closing your left eye as you turn head, neck, and eyes left, using the compression, tensioning the compression band around your thoracic, mid-thoracic area, encouraging dispersion, inhalation, breathing wide and deep to your mid-thoracic area, and exhale, humming. So many cues. You need to be a tube and throat singer to harmonize with yourself in order to get all those cues built in. Now for our last, before we listen to your questions and your observations or maybe look at our slides, put the band over the region, over your left shoulder, the region where your left upper trapezius and lower cervical area intersect. Tugging on the band from behind with your right hand, the band from the front with your left hand. Shift your weight to your left sitting bone. Right ear listens to your right shoulder. As you inhale, have the idea that you could puff up the upper lobe of your left lung, puffing up into the area of the first rib, to the area of your left collarbone, and to the area of the band. While you're here inside bending, your left lung, there has a lot of room to shift to the left. Walk to your right sitting bone, come up to vertical. Rock down with your right sitting bone. Left ear listens to your left shoulder. The band is making compression around the left area of your lung, your right lung wide open for excursion to the right. Now shift your weight to your left sitting bone. Tug on the band from behind you and the band from in front of you. While you're over here and side bending with your right ear listening to your right shoulder, rotate to the left. Look up over your left shoulder above you to the ceiling, and then rotate to look at the ground beside your right greater trochanter. Breathing in and exhale, humming. A fancy form of fascia flossing. Breathing in, tongue scrolling up and back, opening the airways, and exhale, humming. Close your eyes, breathing in, and exhale, humming. The light from your knees is straight ahead. One more here, breathing in, and exhale, humming. And if this makes you slightly dizzy, a little nauseous, open your eyes, take the band away from you, stand up, assure yourself that so far gravity is still with us and you are perfectly fine. It's just that was a lot of incoming information. Now, some of you, maybe those of you who didn't have a vestibular response, may be saying, well, what about me? What about me? What about the other side? Let's just pretend to give credit where credit's due to Moshe Feldenkrais, who that's where I learned about the differentiated cervical rotation. And the Feldenkrais awareness through movement lessons always did movement to one side. So you can do the other side with your band before you go to sleep tonight. And I've taken this floor for a long time. It's your turn and Brent's turn to tell us what's what.
Oh, I know, like, history you have with Feldenkrais and with gyrotonic and gyrokinesis and, of course, Pilates, and then many other forms of movement. I'm assuming some Tai Chi in there as well and those kind of things. But I just love, like this morning I was telling you I had a chance to work with Angela Crowley doing a gyrotonic workout. And what I really appreciated about your lesson, and I could even imagine, because I could focus on the band or the spinning surfaces, because I went through some of those kind of movements of just trying to open up, and I could focus on where the eyes were participating, which I hadn't done that before in that kind of seated movement. And it brought back some ideas of the vestibular ocular reflex, which was a little trick that we used to increase that range of motion that you did so lovely today without having to be super technical, like just let your eyes move, let your eyes close, use one eye. And what I think a lot of people don't understand, and maybe you can explain a little bit too, is that our need to focus the eyes so often leads to an over-recruitment of the muscles that you described, of the upper thoracic, the cervical, even up into the cranium. And so we see so many people come that they go to move and they really don't have a supple range of motion with their head and neck, because we're so focused in this space. You're talking about the screens and those things that we're focusing on. And you basically disturbed that system for us, or we did it with your direction. And I'm just curious how many people felt a significant increase or letting go, as Elizabeth guided us, by closing an eye or shifting the eyes in the opposite direction or scrambling that VOR a little bit. That's, if people can have that awareness of what happened when they did it and realize, I don't have tight neck muscles. I just wasn't aware that I had that much movement. I'm always fixated in this particular sagittal plane of movement in our world today. I don't know if you nodded on the VOR, but I mean, that was just something that brought back from some vestibular and ocular kind of studies that are out there, but really powerful. I'm curious, put in the comments there if you felt a shift in the range of motion of the rotation or the movement as Elizabeth guided us today. There's a question here from Catherine Connor. She says, love working with the band. Does the band across the shoulder with gentle twist help with relieving neck knots? Well, we sort of played with that comment. What about that, Elizabeth? What do you think?
The key word here that is written in the question is knot, K-N-O-T. And I think of the movement we did today with the band as fascia flossing, which may encourage a sliding of the tissues, and maybe with sufficient repetition and appropriate delivery of forces and ground forces, may encourage a glide of the fibers, and with the glide of the neuromyofascial system fibers, that may lead the way to a reduction of knots.
And maybe change the word too, just to give it's like, I think sometimes we choose vocabulary that we hear all the time. We're trained that way. I have a knot in my muscle, that it's not, maybe a knot isn't the best representation of feeling the tension in a muscle or the over recruitment of a muscle, or maybe a misfiring of a muscle. So love that idea. We're seeing some good feedback from individuals here. Sarah Edwards is asking the question. Thank you, Sarah, coming from UK. She's always with us and always has great comments. Says, Elizabeth, can you talk briefly to the need for movement across the midline when clients have had brain injuries? That could be a 2-day course. But, we'll take the best shot in 2 minutes.
Or a several-year study. Yes. Yes. In working with clients who have had strokes, I've done this for a number of years. I suggest that they sit on a physio ball. Now, don't panic. I have them sit next to a trap table so they can hold on to the post of the trapeze table for a little extra stability. And then use its proximal motion, moving the pelvis over the contour of the ball. And this in order to bring a proximal input to the area, to a ground force to the area of the brain that's not currently online or not
interpreting. Yeah.
It's not integrating well. And I'll have the client move over the ball. The ball is an appropriate surface for sensory and motor stimulation through the pelvic lumbo hip area. And then seated next to the trapeze table, I have a piece of paper, a large easel piece of paper, and various crayons or colors, and have the client draw with their hand the movement the pelvis is making. And this is to engage a number of the fine motor control, hand-eye coordination, and different aspects of the brain to safely stimulate in movement of the processing for people who have had brain injuries or strokes.
Elizabeth, are you using the affected hand or the unaffected hand to draw the motion of the spine?
Yes. Initially, I'll have both hands hold the same implement.
Good.
And then each hand holds an implement.
And then the affected.
And then for the rest of us, cross your arms over and hold the implement. And that's a figure 8 motion, because the figure 8 motion itself is an important motion for gait. And it's a really important motion, the figure 8 motion, figure eight motion is a really important motion for integrating.
I remember somebody teaching me a figure eight and a bridge about 32 years ago.
Yeah.
And I still use this so often. It's such a good
Do you use
variation.
Do you use the Pilates ring on the outer thighs or the inner thighs, or
Both?
Both.
Yeah, both. Yeah, change things up. In a lot of the rock steady literature for Parkinson's disease, the leading focus in that is actually getting to cross midline. We had somebody coming in the other day for the class. The university holds it every Tuesday and Thursday for people that either had brain injuries or people with Parkinson's disease. And so they bring him in, and the man was very worried that he was actually going to be boxing with somebody. He didn't want to get hit in the head. But Rocksteady Boxing is they have plenty of people helping and students helping. But the goal is to try to get the crossing over midline, and they have a whole bunch of drills. But we know for a fact that when you create a task that crosses midline for Parkinson's, it releases a lot of the rigidity. So that's their primary pain, isn't it? Like they can't break through the rigidity. So it gives them tools. You could probably see some of them. I've seen some of them in grocery stores and just sort of, doing this and finding ways to break up some of the rigidity. So definitely a powerful tool. All right. Well, we got like one more minute. I wanted to thank you, Elizabeth, as always. You are such a great leader and thought leader and movement leader in our profession. And it's just great to have you with us. I do want to just do a little shout out. I've talked to Elizabeth about it. We haven't worked out the final details yet, but we are putting together a series of workshops, sort of like what I did this summer, starting in January and going through May and again the fall. And so I'm hoping that Elizabeth will take one of those workshops, a 3-hour workshop, that we can dive deeper into her beautiful work, and I'll be edified in all after that. So if you are interested in working with Elizabeth and doing a workshop like that, just let us know or write to Melissa, and that way we can that'll help us with our decision making of how soon and when you're ready, Elizabeth, to do that too. So we're excited to have you as one of the workshop presenters. Thank you, everybody. We have an exciting webinar next week with Claire Sparrow from England. And she's going to be talking about her book, Hope for the Pelvic Floor, and really trying to get rid of some of the stigma and still the resistance we have of talking about pelvic floor health. And so she's written a book, and she'll be joining us, and is a great leader in the Pilates industry. And so she's going to be with us. So make sure that you share that message and share it around the world. Just excited that we have such great thought leaders in our industry. And as always, we hope to bring the physical, emotional, and spiritual alignment to the world through these great thought leaders, of which, Elizabeth, you are definitely one of my thought leaders and mentors. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Brent. Thank you, Melissa, and the Polestar community. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. Above everything, everybody, be kind and have a wonderful weekend. And we'll see you next week on the Pilates Hour.